And some of you are saying, I don't know if I'd want to hang around that long in this world. And why did they live so long? This really happened up until this time since the creation of the world, for 300 or 400 years, that they were living long lives. And then God, because of the wickedness and the disobedience and the rebellion that he sees in the people that he had made, he declares that man's days, these human beings, will be 120 years. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to reach that age. We heard of one lady this morning that is at the 103-year mark. It seems that as time has gone on and as more disobedience and wickedness that come into the world, and as more abuse of our bodies has happened, and poor diets perhaps, that we have seen a decrease of the age of a human being. So Noah was about 500 years old when God spoke to him and gave him some unbelievable instructions. And it really did seem like a ridiculous order. I realize that people like Bill Cosby have had a little fun with this story. You know, he's one of the neighbors, and he goes to visit with Noah, and he says, well, Noah, what are you doing? You know, what's all of this noise I hear, all of this hammer sound? What's all this wood gathered? What are you doing? And Noah is, you know, he's kind of quiet about what he's doing. Even though I really believe that Noah had lots of time, because it was about 120 years that it took to finish the project, to build the boat with his family. Maybe he hired some of the neighbors who didn't get on the boat later on. But we see that the story continues on. And Noah was a preacher of righteousness. And you can be sure that this man that God says this about in verse 8 of chapter 6, but Noah found favor. He found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Out of all of the population, out of all of the people, there was only this one father and his family that he saw this goodness and this grace and this obedience in their lives. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Noah was a righteous man in verse 9, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked with God. I wonder what my neighbors, those who know me, or your neighbors, those who know you, what would they say about you? How would they describe you? The longer they know you, the better they get to know you, how would they describe your life, your faith, your relationship with God? Noah is a powerful example for us of someone who walked with God. It was a ridiculous order that Noah received. As you look over to the next verses that follow in verse 13 of chapter 6. So God said to Noah, so obviously Noah was listening. Noah heard the word of the Lord. I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. What would he say about the world today? I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, or gopher wood, it says in some translations. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Now, this is an incredible boat. That happened last Sunday, for those of you who remember that, or the Sunday before. It's a little problem I have here with maybe the pulpit is too small. The volume inside of the ark, some have calculated to be in cubic feet, 1,518,750 feet, or 100,000 square feet of floor space. Some have tried to picture it this way. the ark would have contained 569 standard railroad boxcars with 144 rooms in them. The old measurement was in cubits. And to measure 1 cubit, you would go from your elbow to the end of your fingers. And that's why there's a little discrepancy in some of the measurements you read on the boat, on the ark, depending on how long it is between the elbow and the end of your fingers. I'm sure that some of you who are a little shorter than I am and have shorter fingers and shorter forearms like this would not have as much measurement there as I would, and maybe some of you would have more measurement. So we do have some discrepancy because of that original way of making the measurement. But it's incredible what we see Noah receiving as instructions for building the ark. And we read that Noah obeyed God's instructions along with his family. Verse 22, Noah did everything just as God commanded him. Now, again, remember how foolish this was, how foolish it seemed. It hadn't rained yet. The people received their water from the underground springs and streams and rivers. There was water supply, but there's no record of rainfall until this time. And we have this word that it's going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. The ground is very dry. And Noah is being instructed to build this huge boat, bigger than any other boat that's ever been built at this time for sure. And up until the end of the 18th century, thank you, Cheryl, no such boat of this size, especially a wooden boat, had ever been built. Noah was a man of faith. He believed he heard the word of the Lord. And as ridiculous as it seemed, he started to build along with his family. The second thing that we notice is this, that God responded aggressively to the wickedness on the earth during the days of Noah. And God will do it again. We read in Genesis chapter 7, further on in the story, in verses 21 and 22, these verses. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered mountains to a depth of more than 20 feet. Every living thing that moved on the earth perished. Just think about this. Every living thing that moved on the earth perished. Birds, livestock, wild animals, all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Now that's disturbing. And I think some of you are disturbed as you hear this again, that God's judgment would be so severe on a wicked and ungodly generation of people. God gave his warning. God, through Noah and his family, built an ark. There would be salvation. There would be safety on that ark for those who would listen to the message. But they mocked, and they scorned him, and they ridiculed him. Can you think about those many years of time that Noah was pounding away with his family and gathering all the timber together, cutting the timber? I don't know how he cut all of those huge pieces of timber for the boat. But he kept patiently moving onward in the construction project.